Hi there, and welcome to Flip the Script Season 3 in the Weeds, Episode 17, A Day in the Life of the Prospector, Time Blocking, Activity Metrics, and When to Prospect to Get Ultimate Responses. My name's Becc. I'm going to be your guide for this session. If you do me a small favor, if you would go to the website flipthescript.co, click on the free sales training hub, click Season 3, Episode 17, and if you could download the deck. All you'll have to do is put in your email and you'll get the deck for free. It's pretty meaty, so I want to make sure you have it in front of you so you can watch it each step of the way. Once you've done that, let's go ahead and jump into the content. So the first piece of A Day in Life in the Prospector, this is going to be mostly over the overview of what a day should look like. A lot of time allotments, a lot of when to do things, a lot of organizational logistics of how to optimize your time. So there is no one more qualified on the globe than myself in terms of optimizing for your time. So I think the general rule of thumb, or what my dad used to say to me when I was younger, is you want to find the quickest way to do something, find the laziest person in the room. So moi, being very qualified, this is going to be very logistics heavy. So the first I want to go into is the math of personalization. If you aren't personalizing your outreach, you can skip over this portion. But this is essentially if you're doing a personalization playbook, which I do suggest in most cases, other than B2C, etc., that you should do. So this is going to be the math of how long the emails should take you if you're deploying a strategy like mine. So to choose the 3 personalized premises and to research your prospect, it should take no longer than 5 minutes to hunt those 3 personalized premises on LinkedIn that will fuel the entire cadence or sequence that I recommend. There's 3 emails within the cadence that are personalization heavy. And what I mean by that is they do include a personalization premise. And so for those, I would spend no longer than 8 minutes on those emails, and they're email 1, 3, and 4. For the personalization light emails, and what I mean by that is there is no personalization, which is email 2 and 5. I usually suggest a 5-minute time limit is how much I would allot for that. And then for making a cold call, it takes the same amount of time to make a cold call if you're personalized or if you're not personalized, meaning the prep or the call itself. So that should be a 2-minute time limit. And these are all upper limits that I'm giving. So I would break that down to there's 480 minutes in an 8-hour workday. And so what that will break down in terms of time is the metrics that I used to give my reps was 30 email minimum and 60 call per day, and that each call was worth, or each email is worth 2 calls. So within the infrastructure of my sequence, for instance, if you have tuned into that at all, you should be sending 18 personalization heavy emails, which breaks into, at 8 minutes per day, 144 minutes per day. 12 low personalization emails. And what I mean by that is there is no personalization. And really, I'm lowering these metrics, meaning my real activity metric was 35 emails and 60 calls. And I didn't even include email type 2 of the low personalization in their activity metric. And they were still exceeding that. But point being, if you are going to include that in your activity metric, 5 minutes for those, which should be 60 minutes overall. 60 calls per day would be 2 minutes a piece, which is 120 minutes. And so that has 90 activity steps over, or 15 steps over the entire sequence, which means that you should have, per prospect that you're researching, you should have essentially 30 minutes in terms of researching them. So what that really means is total for the entire allotment together, I would be spending 354 minutes per day to send out these types of activity metrics if I'm doing a personalization book. And then I also wanted to 3x the amount of time that you would spend on research that I'm seeing on average. And again, these are all upper limits. Usually for the high personalization emails, my reps are spending no longer than 3.5 minutes. And for the low personalization emails, they're just checking that a first name looks correct. And so it's 45 seconds. But even with these upper limits together, you'll only spend 414 minutes during an 8-hour workday if you are sending these types of activity metrics. So I next want to go into the activity metrics for success. 35 emails and 60 calls, excluding email 2 and 5. And I would always tell my reps 1 email are worth 2 calls. So what that essentially means is there are going to be some days where you're doing email only. So if I was doing an email only day, then I would essentially take that call number, divide it into 2, and say that means I need to do 30 additional emails, which means I would need to do 65 emails overall, because 60 calls yields 30 emails. 30 plus 35 equals 65. Or if I was going the other way around, for instance, if I was doing calls only, then I would take the email total, multiply it by 2, which means 70, plus 60, which means 130 calls. And so again, these are the activity metrics for my team with emails 2 and 5 excluded, and they still were exceeding those numbers. Okay, so let's get into some more of the logistical stuff for outside of personalization. So when I would do prospect research, so the interesting thing is most of when I see people using their prospecting time is when they have the most calories, which is Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. And then they're going to peter off in the afternoon, and they're going to justify Friday afternoon saying people don't respond on Friday afternoon. So what I have found in my research of timing and prospects and conversion and the different steps in when to time them is actually the opposite to be true. So you have 2 things to think about if you are optimizing for cold calling and cold emailing on Monday morning. First of all, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning are your prospects. Usually their inbox is going to be imploded with requests over the weekend, future setting for the week, all the things that they have to prioritize. And so how relevant you have to be to get their attention is much higher on a Monday morning than it is on a Friday afternoon. So Monday mornings are usually going to be the hotbed, especially for leaders, who I see people trying to call for when they are the busiest. It's when they have the most tasks to do. They have the most things to cover. And so that's the first thing that's going in your disadvantage, to your disadvantage if you cold call and cold email then. The second thing is that's when I see most reps doing it. So I'll see most sales reps, again, call Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, send those emails Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, because that's when they point blank have the most calories. And then Friday afternoon, they want to take a break off, or they want to, go somewhere for the weekend. So your prospects are the same in terms of their activity. So really when I'm trying to do from a high level, all of my non-outreach activities, all the stuff I've got to do in terms of research, or whether that's one-on-ones, etc., is in the high time for when my prospects are the busiest and when most reps are sending their sales outreach. Because both of those are going to take my outreach to a disadvantage, because I've got to be super relevant, and I also am competing with a lot of people. So both of those case scenarios, I'm optimizing to do my outreach activities within those peak times of when my prospects are the busiest. So really when I'm trying to do research, for instance, which is a non-outreach activity, is going to be within those peak times for my prospects. So for instance, Monday all day is when I'm going to be busy doing my prospect research, because that is going to be the most disadvantageous time to get a hold of them. And then Tuesday through Thursday in the morning. So I would think from now on, morning is the time that I do all non-outreach activities, and afternoons later in the week is when I'm going to do the majority of these activities. So this actually came to me as a theory in the beginning. So MJ Hoffman, the author of Why You Now, did a lot of different studying with his teams of when he was getting the most conversion. And what he found was the exact same thing. Sales reps were making calls Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, and that he was seeing the most conversion Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoon. So what he argued was 5 minutes before the hour, after the hour, increasingly throughout the day and increasingly throughout the week is when he saw the highest conversion rates. So when I was trained by him at one point, he said that he gave his teams Monday off, and he was on the East Coast calling on the West Coast sometimes. So he made them from, I believe, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. is when their cold call territory was, that was when they really needed to be making the cold calls and sending the emails. So I had my teams do the same thing, and we saw dramatic lift in results. Another good way to do it is if you're using Outreach as a sales engagement vendor, or using sales engagement in general, you can click into an overview and insights tab, and they'll let you know when is the best time to make dials based on conversion and emails based on conversion. I will say you have to be careful with those, because it will tell you out of the times that you are sending and out of the times that you are making dials, when is the best, most advantageous time. It is not telling you overall. So if you are only making dials, for instance, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, and you say, look back, it says that Wednesday morning is the best time, it's because you're not calling on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoon. So I would keep that in my mindset as I'm making dials, that it will give me that data point of out of the times that I am research or that I am sending the outreach, when is the best time to do it. So research, I would definitely do Monday all day and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the morning. When to call. I think we were pretty explicit here, but excuse me, but I would do Tuesday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Friday all day, but especially 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So these are the reason that this is going to be hard for anyone who's out there, wondering about the difficulty of this. The reason this is hard is because this is against your body's grain, right? Your body wants to do the hardest work in the morning and then peter off throughout the week, just like every other sales rep out there. So I hear a lot of people trying to get better at objection handling, or better at cold calling, or better at, cold emailing. And I'm like, that's fine. But if I can just get you to make the flip of you're calling on Friday afternoon instead of Tuesday morning, you're going to 4x the amount of connections that you have, and your prospects are going to be in a better mindset. So I would give you the analogy of, asking to be better at objection handling is like saying, how can I get someone in a better mood when they're on vacation versus how can I get them in a better mood when they're at the DMV? It's still important to put someone in a good mood, but mindset is going to be a lot here. So I would say if you could just get your calls Tuesday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. all day Friday, but especially 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'd be respectful. I would cut off after 6 p.m. I'm not an advocate of the weekend dials. I'm not an advocate of the weekend emails. I'm not an advocate of after 6 p.m. I think it's very disrespectful, and I think that decision makers struggle with work-life balance. I'm not an advocate of prior to 8 a.m. either. I know some people make dials at 7 a.m. and sometimes it's successful. This is just a style thing, and maybe a perspective thing that I would be very, very savage within the appropriate hours. But outside of those hours, I do not think it's appropriate to call people. So that, again, is just maybe inherently a style thing, but I would say I would knock off after 6 p.m. When to hold call blitzes. So another thing that you can do is call blitzes with your team. And this is, maybe an hour-long session where the entire team gets together and they all make dials together. So I would hold call blitzes in the same time frame of hours, Tuesday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, all day, but especially 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. If you have a lot of struggles with getting your teams to make cold calls in general, then I would maybe do it on a morning outside of the cold call hours that they're supposed to be dialing. So maybe if you want to do it on, let's say a Thursday morning, and suck up some of their research hours, but then keep them yielding the calls within Tuesday through Thursday. And this is, again, when you just get the team in a group environment and have them all dial together. When to craft emails. Craft emails Monday all day, Tuesday through Thursday in the morning. Send emails Tuesday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. all day Friday, especially 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So the great thing about using a sales engagement vendor like Outreach is you can craft your emails whenever you want, and then you can send them and delay send them for whenever you want. So usually, you can craft emails all day on Saturday and Sunday, and then get them to delay send on Thursday at 3 p.m. So you don't necessarily have to lose time from a work perspective if you want to work on the weekend, not exposing any kind of my proclivities or habits. But I used to do that all the time. I'd work on Saturday and Sunday, put together these emails, and trigger them to send all on Thursday at the best shot case scenario. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on a personalized email and then have it not get read because I sent it the wrong time. So that's when I would send the emails versus craft the emails. And then when to do follow-ups, same type of thing. Tuesday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Anytime you need a response from your prospect, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Thursday, all day Friday, especially Friday afternoon. There's only one company that I've noticed that recognizes this fact. One company out of all the companies I've seen, and it is Zoom. Zoom sends me an email at I think 6 p.m. every day, giving me like roundup history of the day and important notifications, about my Zoom instance, always at like 5:30, 6 p.m. And the reason I know that is no one else sends me emails at that point, right? So they're the only one competing for my attention. So I've read them before, when I would never read that if that was a Monday morning. So there's only one company that understands this premise that I've seen, and they kick all their notifications. So if I was a marketer, I'd be doing the same thing. I would be optimizing for when are people not sending emails so I have the best chance of standing out. So I'd ask myself, do I want to be tasked with running the fastest mile out of 5,000 people or the fastest mile out of 3? Now, I still have to run a fast mile, but I'm much more likely to get an open and get attention if there's only 3. When to prevent no-shows, same exact thing. Preventing no-shows is sending over content, sending over prep for a meeting. Again, this is not outreach contingent, or meaning non-outreach activity. So I'd go Monday all day, Tuesday through Thursday in the morning. And then when to spend time on social. This is a big one. So social is a very, very big topic within the industry. There are some people, I'm already getting exhausted talking about it, but there are some people who say like spend endless hours creating a personal brand and make 15,000 videos showing the world who you are. I could not disagree more. Yeah, I could not disagree more. I think that social media is extremely valuable if you use it in a strategic way. How I see it used typically is in a very sweatpants-ridden way of people jumping on there for 6 hours, myself included, and getting lost just reading random comments, of people. So in terms of social media, I would be, especially if I'm a leader, extremely strategic with it, but put ambits and directions around it. It is very easy for reps to get lost in that they're social selling, which means that they're just browsing through random people's comments, etc. So I would have my reps for 15 or 20 minutes. It's kind of almost like they'll say within dieting that essentially you can have a cheat day as long as it's got some level of, it's not that big of a cheat day and it's planned. It's intentional. So I would be intentional with their time on social media. So I would allow it, I'd say spend 15 or 20 minutes every single day. Do it in the morning. And what you need to be doing on social media is essentially adding your prospects, doing some research on them, and also what I would call social listening. And what I mean by that is social listening to their buyers. So I'll see people just scrolling back and forth and getting in fights and writing comments and on. And I'm like, okay, this is, from my view, if you want to yield business results with social media, if I have 5 buyers at the beginning of every one of my sequences, I add them. I didn't send a personalized note. I'm like, no, I want to get to know them for who they are. I'd add each and every one of them. And then over the course of some time, I had 1,500 of my prospects in my feed. What I could see is, what I mean by social listening is they're seeing the types of articles that they're writing or stuff they're engaged with or communities that they're a part of, opinions that they have on their subject matter. So all of a sudden you start getting educated, almost via osmosis of what they care about. I would also use it within that 15 to 20 minutes of, if I liked something that my prospect wrote, to like it or put a comment up there, short comment, easy breezy, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. But it is a form of a gift when you engage with someone's social media stuff. So I can name off the top of my head the top 10 people that engage with my content because it stands out to me. So I would use that 15 or 20 minutes. I would limit my reps to using it then. And I would have them socially listen to what their prospects are saying and engage with their prospects on social media. But I would you came to this session on how to essentially rein in your day. This is one of the biggest culprits that I see people spending endless hours building personal brand. It can be a vortex. It can be an absolute black hole of time suck if you're not careful. So usually the best reps that I've seen, they're very, very strategic with their time. They do spend some time on social media, but just to yield business results. And then they focus on their craft on how do I get better. So I wanted to finish with tips to maximize your entire effectiveness of your day. So now that we've covered activity metrics, we've covered the when and the where of cold email, cold call, etc. Just want to give some tips in general, and then we can close out. First tip is use call blocks. So call blocks are when you're using essentially a sprint focus of I'm going to be very intentional about something, do it really hard within that time, and then give myself a rest. So I did this all the time. I do this with content quite a bit. I call them content blitzes. But essentially what you can do is 45 or 50 minutes of calling where you're just straight dial, and then you give yourself 10 minutes of break. So I would suggest call blocks of where you're thinking about one topic in specific, and that would be cold calling or cold emailing, but blocking out that time and then allowing time for rest afterwards. One of the best reps I knew did this every single hour, 45 or 50 minutes, 10-minute break, 45, 50 minutes, 10-minute break, and just absolutely murdered his numbers because of it. Number two, the big tip I would have is reduce internal meetings. There is no bigger time suck. Never mind. Social media is a bigger time suck, but a very, very big time suck is internal meetings. If you can sum up something on a Slack channel or on a email, I would suggest doing it. So I cannot underscore enough the amount of alignment meetings where I've heard, marketing giving their take and sales giving their take. Everyone's Googling something else. So I would think about even meetings with an AE, in a one-on-one with your rep. I would be very intentional about my one-on-one, or I wouldn't have a one-on-one at all. So some of my reps in the past, they would show, I had a precursor of you bring an email, you score yourself according to these 7 pillars, you give me the reasoning of why. I'm going to do my homework of, I look through your calls, for the last week, and I identified 3 opportunities, and there is sometimes where my reps would show up unprepared. I pulled the meeting. I'm like, there's no point in it. Yes? So don't let it happen again. But I would reduce internal meetings. This is a massive time for people. So I hear SDR leaders a lot say look at my calendar. It's so busy. Isn't that so great? Aren't I such a great leader? I'm like, if your calendar is this stacked, then no, you're not a great leader. You need to learn how to get the same result, but in less time, not only for you, keep your reps on the floor. So AE meetings with one-on-one, marketing, all the alignment meetings, I would try to reduce within as much as you can as possible. So I'll give you an example. At Flip the Script, I probably work with, in total, 25 different people in terms of agencies, marketers, videographers, etc. We have one meeting per week that's 30 minutes to launch all the stuff that we have, and we have probably actually held that meeting 25% of the time. Because usually I'll look at it and say, I don't have anything if y'all don't have anything. And it frees them up to keep doing what I need them to do. So this can be a big time suck for people. Prevent no-shows. This is just a tip in general, is how you can prevent no-shows is sending over content in the meantime before someone's going to jump on a discovery call. Industry metric is 35% no-show. So you're bleeding out a lot of your meetings there. So I would use a lot of time. This is not something I typically see people do, but sending over, content in the meantime and meeting reminders to your prospect to make sure that they show up. Another tip I have, go into booths, be by yourself, covet time by yourself. So, and I put this for number 7, turn off distractions, turn off your phone, kill your Slack, kill your LinkedIn, kill all the things that are not according to the activity of whatever you're trying to do. Focus. Those who focus are those who will win. So I covet time by myself to think. I've become a very aggressive runner because of it, because it's time where I'm uninterrupted and I can think. So there are a number of different studies that go into this, and a number of different articles by very well-respected people that talk about that basically the strategic leaders of the future are the ones who have the most uninterrupted time. Specifically, if you are a leader and you are walled off with meetings, you have no time to think strategically. So I get upset when people, come into outside of my boundaries. So I am savage about this. I kill my email. I kill my LinkedIn. I kill my Slack messages. I turn off my phone. I silence notifications. So a metric that blew my mind is when you're interrupted from an activity, it takes you 23 minutes to get back on topic mentally. So I would covet this time to think of how I'm going to do something as opposed to just executing it. So this is my golden hours. These are my favorite hours, so a lot of times up to, shooting for this, for instance, I'll take 3 weeks off and I'll tell my clients like, hey, this is a 3-week bubble. I'm going to give you a heads up 2 months ahead of time. I am unavailable because I need to think of ideas, so your effectiveness as a rep, as a manager, as a leader in any profession is going to be predicated on how much uninterrupted time you have to think strategically and to execute. So I would put myself in the best case scenario for this. So I know a lot of us are working from home. That's great. No better way to silence all your notifications and give people, if you're a leader, I would give them an out of, if you have something that's very important, this is the way to get a hold of me and interrupt my time. But make them aware of what they're interrupting, so they use that strategically as you need to use it. So my time is my biggest asset. It is the only thing that I do not have an unlimited supply of. So these are two very, very big things. Very, very, very big things, especially for leaders, is to be on topic, to think and execute in isolation, so if you're an open format in terms of seating, I would certainly go into a booth to do any kind of execution work. Social activity, this is a big tip. My heart is on this one a lot. Put boundaries around it, limit it, use it strategically. Social media can be very helpful. It is also one of the most damaging things that I've seen for reps in their day-to-day because it's easy. You just get on there and you justify that you're working. So I would certainly leverage it. It is a very valuable tool if you use it appropriately. So I would put boundaries around it. I would give myself a task in that section. If I give myself the task of okay, I'm going to do 15 minutes of social listening. I'm going to see what people are talking about. I'm going to see updates in the industry, and I'm logging off for the day. I'm coming back for, later. But again, these two, 5 and 7, go along with each other. Anytime if I see a push notification, it pushed to my phone, blank liked your comment, and then you stop what you're doing and you go to that thing, it takes 23 minutes to get back on topic. 23 minutes. So social media, I would certainly put boundaries around it, limit it, use it strategically. And along with that, number 6, rest. Use rest strategically. For call blocks, I use rest as a weapon. People wonder, how are we, within such a short time frame, how are we able to get a lot of stuff done? We're a limited team. And I'm I use rest as a weapon. So I know, for instance, within filming, I'm okay, well, I'm going to be feeling this way whenever as I film more sessions throughout the day. So I know if I've done a longer session, I need to take a 10-minute rest here, and I'm using that to decompress so I can keep going. So I view my rest within running. This is a great example of, I've trained for a couple of marathons, gotten the privilege to run a marathon. I'm probably going to run one later this year if I can. And within any kind of training schedule, you have strategically mandatory days of rest. You go on a long run and then you rest the next day. And right up into the marathon, the last 2 weeks, you essentially are ramping up your aggression in terms of the level of long runs. And then 2 weeks before, you're tapering off. Why? Because if you went on long runs right before the marathon, it would tax your legs too much. So I'd use rest strategically in terms of throughout the day and then on the weekends as well. So in summary, I know that a lot of people think about quality of messaging and a lot of these different tactical skills, but how you arrange your day can be the difference between you and 2x quota and you and, 60% of quota. So I think viewing our day as an asset and how do I comprehensively rearrange all these pieces to really best stack up the odds in my favor is how I'm going to do it. So I would think about my time as such, use everything with intention, everything strategically, and this can be a major, 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 major impact for your day. So that is everything. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this session and want to do us a tiny favor, if you'd go to Flip the Script on LinkedIn, flip-the-script, and give us a follow. And if you really like this session, if you would tag me and Flip the Script and let us know what you liked about the session and what you want to hear more of. But either way, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Watch out.